All right, so I'm going to give you a quick overview of the basic components, the operation, and the maintenance on the EBS260. This is a Handjet unit. And before I begin, I just want to mention that we are a dealer. We're not the manufacturer, so these are our recommendations of what to do. You should always have anybody who's going to be using this unit read the entire user's guide or operations manual so they're familiar with it, and follow all of the recommended manufacturer's operations. Now getting into the basic components. So in the back is our cartridge, our ink cartridge. We have a port for charging in the back here, the lithium-ion batteries. We have a side control panel. We have a touchscreen display panel. And we have an encoder wheel here on the bottom. We have a guide wheel here on the top. And then very closely we can see the 32 print nozzles. And this is a nozzle plate guard. Okay? So those are the basic components. So the basic operation of the unit is, when you get the unit at first, it's going to have an ink cartridge. You're going to install the ink cartridge by finding one of these ink cartridges will have a tiny little arrow. And that's going to be the top of your Handjet. So once that's on, you'll feel the threads grab, and you just snug that right up tight. So that's installing the inkjet cartridge. Then we're going to power the unit on. There's an on switch here. Now it's going to take a few seconds to initialize. It's initializing. Okay, so now we can see on the display what we have. We're going to go through finding or creating our new message. I'm not going to get into this video on how to create new messages. On that, you can find that in other videos. But basically, this main folder here will be where your projects are saved. They call these project libraries. And within this, you can scroll through by using the sidebar or just throwing your finger on the menu and moving it. The big folder at the top is a root folder. Okay, and then within that are subdirectories and other folders that you can create for your projects. So it'll take a little bit of getting used to where things are located, but once you do it a few times, you'll understand that. So now that once we find the unit that we want, so now we have our message. In this case, I have a 4-line message. And I'm going to hit the start button. And you now hear it pressurizing. Depending how full your ink cartridge is, it depends how long it continues to pressurize. A new cartridge doesn't pressurize, doesn't take very long. The emptier it gets, it takes the longer period of pressurizing. Now we're good to go ahead and print. So we're going to pull the trigger once, and we're going to roll this bottom encoder wheel. In the beginning, your print isn't going to be that great because you have a lot of cleaner fluid in there. And what you can do is just continue to print until it looks nicer, or we can go into a purge process, and I'll show you that in a moment. You can get the black ink flowing much faster. If you had a multi-line message that you wanted to print multiple lines in a row, you would have to pull the trigger again for the next one, and then it would click, and we'll go to another one, and so on and so on. Once you're done printing, and you're not going to be using it, you want to turn off print mode by hitting stop button. A little tip is also when you're touching these here, you might have to touch the button that you're trying to a little bit above where you think. It seems the display works a little bit better that way. So now that it's not in print mode, it says start. So now we know it's off. A little bit of safety for you. A tip to never ever point this at yourself and turn this wheel, because those jets, if it is still in print mode, it's going to spray you. It could spray you in the eyes, and you should always be wearing your safety glasses in that case. It is an acetone-based ink, so definitely follow your safety precautions. Another thing to mention is there's actually a laser, and there's a warning right here. There's a laser light that guides, is meant for alignment. And if you have that laser on, make sure you never look directly at the light, of course. Now getting into maintenance. All right, so now let's simulate we're going to be going for break or lunchtime now, and we're going to go through the steps of the maintenance. So for break time, you're going to basically power the unit off. So there's a button here on the side, or you can hit this one. And when you hold that button, a new menu will pop up asking for sure if you want to power off. So yes, we do want to power down. It's important that you always turn the unit off before you do anything with the ink cartridge, because there's chips inside there that actually might get damaged if you don't have the power turned off. So it's always a good habit to turn the power off. So now we power it off. What we're going to do is depressurize the cartridge. I usually aim it up just in case. There's a chance that sometimes a little bit of ink may spray out. You're going to hear it depressurize. And then you snug it back up. So what that's done is released all the pressure that's built up within it. And then what we're going to do is take our spray. The unit comes with a external cleaner bottle. And you will buy the external cleaner. And you're going to spray the jets. 3 times should be good. So that's for break or lunchtime. So the end of the first day, when you're using the black and dyed ink, you're going to do the same process that you would right there, and then you can now, go home for the day. At the end of every second day, you're going to have to do a purge process. So what we'll do then will be we're going to power the unit off as normal, but now we're going to replace the ink cartridge with a cleaning cartridge. Twist it off gently. I usually aim it this way so that it doesn't leak. And you're going to put on your cleaning cartridge. It says on the very bottom of this one's a little bit ratty, but on the very bottom it tells you if it's an ink cartridge or if it's a cleaner cartridge. So we will put a cleaner cartridge. Once again, you're going to find the section of one of the cartridge corners that has the little arrow. If you see that, and that's going to be the top. You'll feel the threads. Then we'll power it back on. And then we'll do a purge. We'll show you the purge process. So when you push the start button down, there's a little tab above there. You see it, and a new menu will pop up. Now you're going to hit the purge button. You can hear it again. Now it's pressurizing. The sounds sometimes are a little bit different, so don't worry about it if it sounds a little bit different. Now we're in purge mode. Now we can spray into either a cardboard box or into a garbage can or whatever you have. And we're going to just press the trigger now. You can see it spraying all jets. I like to hold it on an angle on the side this way. This way all the jets get cleaned evenly, and not just the top ones don't get, if you held it this way, the top ones don't get as clean. You want to do this until it runs clear. So I'm going to continue doing that until it's clear. You can now see it's getting clearer. For the purge process, with the black dyed ink, you're going to do that at the end of every second day. And if you're using the white pigmented ink, you're going to do that at the end of every single day. Once you're done purging, you can choose to either leave the cleaning cartridge or put the other cartridge back on. And then you will spray the jets once again, and then you'll be good to go for the day. So now we're going to move into some of the don'ts and things that you should never do with the printer. So the first thing that we stress always is you're never ever going to want to touch the tiny little print nozzles with anything. Definitely not a rag. You're never going to ever want to wipe it with any kind of a rag. These inkjets are very delicate. They have a special rubber, and they're actually a tiny ruby with a tiny little hole that it's very expensive to replace, and you never want to get any fibers to go back inside of there or anything like that. So you never ever want to touch the print head with anything. Now, if you need to, if you ever want to clean the guard, you can use a lint-free cloth, you spray that, and you're free to go ahead and touch the guard and the wheels. You can clean up a little bit of the ink in that area, but you never want to rub where the actual nozzles are. Okay, it's very important. Another thing that you're never going to want to do is remove these two side caps and adjust. There's some adjustments in there for technicians for adjusting the nozzles. You're never going to want to ever touch those. Only let technicians touch that kind of stuff. If you have questions on this, you would always talk to your dealer or EBS directly. And the other thing that I want to mention that you should never do is you make sure that you never leave it pressurized when you turn it off. So once again, when you power the unit off, depressurize your cartridge every single time. If you do not do that, you're eventually going to, you're going to wear out parts inside of this, and they get quite costly to repair. So always depressurize. I'd like to mention that the maintenance on these units is very important. They work actually best when they're flowing and printing ink. That's what they're really meant to do. So if you're ever going to need to store this for periods of time, you're not going to be using it for 3 weeks or more, what they recommend you doing is leaving your ink cartridge installed on it. Don't ever leave it not on, because it helps to keep the internal from drying out again. So you leave the cartridge on, depressurized, and they actually recommend putting the whole unit into a Ziploc baggie of some kind, seal it, and then you could put it back in its case and store it for a more indefinite time. Of course, it would be purged as well. It would be entirely cleaned before you do that. Finally, I want to go over a couple of troubleshooting issues that you might have. These are some of the common things that might happen. So you might find with some of your print that sometimes you'll see like a line that's voiding or not printing, or a couple of jets that might not actually look like they're printing properly. So that might be as simple as just having your spray on you and spray the nozzles a couple times. That usually will help loosen up and make that print better again. You might have to do another purge with the ink on it just to make sure all the jets are firing properly and cleaned properly. Another thing that sometimes might happen is when you power it on, that your ink cartridge might try to continually pressurize and keep trying and trying and trying and not actually stopping. And eventually it might actually give you an error, and it'll tell you on here there'll be a little error exclamation point thing. If you get the error, it might be possibly your ink cartridge is empty, because there are expiry dates on the ink cartridge. You want to be aware of that. And it might also just be a faulty cartridge. Remember I was talking about the microchip or the RFID chips that are in here. They could be faulty, and it could be causing you to not know what to do. So the easiest thing to do is to power it off and try a new ink cartridge or cleaning cartridge and see if that was the problem. Another thing that sometimes arises is when you're in print mode and you're printing, sometimes it won't, you'll print one line and then all of a sudden it won't work the next time. Even though you've clicked the trigger and you're still in print mode, then sometimes there's a blank line in your message somehow. A whole blank line gets put in there, and you're actually printing blank space. I had that happen to me a couple times. So if that's the case, you might want to be able to just go in, double check your message, either edit it or sometimes even recreate your message. That could be sometimes why that's doing that. For any other issues or any questions at all, always remember to contact your dealer or the EBS technical support team directly about any issues. Hope this helps you get through the basics, and please remember that we have more detailed videos on our YouTube page, so if you want to subscribe and hit the alarm bell on that, you'll get notified when we put out all our new videos. So hopefully that helps you.